All right, everyone, welcome to week 13. A few housekeeping things this week. I have closed everything from part one of this course. If you haven't got it in yet, it is what it is at this point. Um, Most of you are doing like you're supposed to, and those of you who aren't turning in assignments, you're just gonna have to take the grade you got. I think I've been very lenient. Um, so you won't have to scroll down as far to get to the assignments anymore, which is good. I hope that you didn't have any problems last week. I didn't get any questions, so I'm assuming everybody did fine. This week we're going to finish up on Module 2, strings and list methods and exceptions. And this week, obviously, we're going to cover exceptions. A few things, including this week, there's only 5 weeks left in the course. So I want to make sure that everybody stays up. If you're behind, catch up as fast as you can because the end of the course is going to be here before you know it. Next week, we're going to be covering classes. So when you talk about object-oriented programming, classes are kind of a big deal because it becomes an object that then creates sub-objects and that kind of thing. Next week, I'm actually going to refer you to a video I did probably a year ago because I think I did a good explanation and a good demo on classes. So it won't be a current video, but it'll be a good video. After classes, we do the part 4 miscellaneous. So they redesigned this course a little bit. The last time I taught it, they covered a lot more on working with files, which I think is fairly important. They touch on it a little bit here, and they touch on a lot of other things, the importance of which will vary from person to person, depending on what you are doing with your programs. So we're going to cover a little bit of working with files, how to open files, read files, write to files. If you start working with specific file types like Word documents, Excel documents, there are libraries for those. If you have questions, if you got a project during the course, after the course, 10 years down the line, well, I don't know if I won't be senile in 10 years, but if you think I can ever help you in the future, shoot me an email and we'll work on it together. But it doesn't cover those. This is just generic text file stuff. There are libraries to use for other files. But we'll get to that when we get to that. That module 4 will be the last module in Cisco Networking Academy. You can from there finish your final, which will be due on the final week of the course, and the satisfaction survey. The last 2 weeks of the course, I haven't put anything in here yet, but I will be teaching you how to create a graphical user interface. This is something that I have never seen taught in any Python or any programming course, period. Well, except for like Visual Basic, because you are programming the interface. At any rate, I'm going to teach you how to create a graphical user interface for any of your programs and how to compile a program into an executable. You can throw it on a USB, you can email it to your buddies, you can do whatever you want with it. It will be a fully functional program like everything else. There are ways to have them be like portable programs so they just run as an executable wherever they are on a thumb drive or on the desktop, or there are options to install them. Just like every other program you work, you got to install it. So I just kind of wanted to give you that little rundown. I want to prepare you for what's coming. This week is going to be kind of a short lesson. It's just error catching, and we have kind of done a little bit about this. This is stuff you need to think about in your program. Let's jump into that real quick. So errors are common, right? I don't know how many times you tried to run something and it didn't work, and you got an error at the bottom, little red stuff in PyCharm. So if we do like x equals input, and you want the user to enter a number, then you want to take that number, and you want to add 10 to it, right? And then print it. Is this going to work? Well, the answer is no. But so I put 10 in here and fire it off, and you get an error. In this case, if you're looking down here, you can see that this is a type error. That is a specific kind of error. It means it's looking for a type that it's not getting. It's getting something, but it's not the correct type. And here it tells you it can only concatenate strings, not integers, to strings. And then up here it says in line 3, right? So in line 3, well, it's kind of funny, you have to pay attention. Can only concatenate strings, not int to string. Where is that error? That error is in line 5. But it's getting the int from line 3. And it's looking at the total. The total variable is an int. So let's fix that real quick. And we know we can fix that by doing this, right? Make the total a string and concatenate it. We've all run into that problem probably 40 times this semester. Run that. Let's see. Is this going to work? No. Why is it not working? Because this x is getting a string, not an integer. It can't add these together, and it doesn't tell you that. It says it can't concatenate it. It's not getting the correct data. So it's getting a string and an int. So you can do this. So you know you'll get an integer. The integer will be able to add with another integer, and then you can convert it to a string, and this should work, right? There it goes. So this is not really error catching, but this is preventing common errors. This is preventing errors in your code. Now, I think I've mentioned before, when you break a program, you have to think about all the ways someone can break it, because they will. So if I run this again and I put in here ABC, well, it doesn't know what to do with it. But this time it throws a different error, right? I'm getting a value error. And it says on line 1. So this x, it's trying to make it an integer, but I'm getting characters instead of numbers, so it doesn't know what to do. So in a case like this, we do a try catch or try and accept. I don't know if catch is a thing. There'll be more these different, like the value errors, the type errors, and the billion other errors that there could be will be covered at length in the book. I'm not going to go through all of them, and I'll show you why. So we're going to try, let's get rid of this here. We're going to try to do this. And if we get an exception of a value error, we're going to print the value error was thrown. Oop. Semicolon. So if I put in 10, the total is 20. If I run it again, put ABC, I guess I have to do this. Because the value error is thrown in line 1, it has to be within the try. ABC. So there, value error was thrown. This way we know that our code works, but the user entered incorrect data. And then you can put this in a while loop. So while it's not throwing the error, it'll keep asking, no, that's not right. You can say, no, that's not right. Ask for another number and do the thing. We're doing like this, and we expect, we don't want to do all that. We can enter. So type, we go back to the way we had it before, and it's not an integer because it's taking in a string, a type error will be thrown. Same deal, type error. Most of the time, what we're going to do, this largely depends on, again, your project, the errors that you expect to encounter based on the project you're working on, and what people can possibly do to it. I would probably, instead of doing this, I would make it so they couldn't enter anything but integers. And with a GUI, that is easy to do. Remember that 5 weeks from now, when you turn your final, I may or may not cover that, but it's possible to do with a label. Anyway, try not to get too far ahead. I apologize. So what else did I want to show you? I think that's it. Oh, I guess the fact that instead of giving it an error, a lot of times you can just throw this except. And no matter what kind of error it is, if I make it correct, so the first time it was taking in a string. Now we're telling it to take it an integer, right? So this should work without a problem. If I run it, 10, 20, yep. And then if they put in ABC, no, because this has to be in the try. That's why. So you can nest these try and accepts just like if statements. So if I run this now, I'll put ABC, an error. Well, it still says a type error, but no matter what error, whether it's a type error or name error, whatever, if any exception is thrown, it will do what's down here. It's kind of like an if-else statement, but it's try and accept. If it cannot execute the code in the try, it will execute the code in the accept, just like the if-else. Instead of a condition, it's looking for an error. Again, in the book, they'll go over several different errors that you may or may not encounter based on your project. The simplest way is to do it like this. Although this, you want your error messages to tell the user specifically what's wrong, so that they can fix it, and they're not calling you up saying, "Hey, your program's broken." You want whatever happens in the exception to either clear the error and allow the program to continue working, or tell the user they're not entering correct information and they have to enter a number instead of letters if they can't figure that out. But anyway, that's try and accept. Again, the book will go into more detail on it. You will do a lab this week, I think. Yeah, there's one lab, reading integers safely. Just follow along. It's fairly simple in the book. And then you will do the math errors project. Now, a lot of time, like what I just did here, making the int part of the input, I do not want you to do that in this project. It's the easy way to do it, and it's the smart way to do it. Right, I just want to be able to, I want to know that you understand to try and accept. So if you can do this without making it an integer and figure out how to make the accept statement, or how to make the program work without specifying an input type, if we can do that. So yeah, without specifying an input type, i.e. int input, to do your project this week. It's really not that difficult. If you have any questions, I'm usually available, although I am going into the office a lot more than I have been. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email, and I will see you next week. Thanks.